On day one of the government shutdown, Donald Trump is trying to exert some presidential pressure. But top Democrats are defiant.
For decades, Republicans have consistently shut the government down as part of their efforts to try to extract and jam their extreme right-wing agenda down the throats of the American people.
Already, Trump is targeting blue states in a way that some Democrats claim is an abuse of power. We will get into that and more. But we start tonight with a red alert for the country as federal troops enter more American cities, and Donald Trump suggests that some American citizens are, quote, enemies. Today, Trump claimed that the National Guard is now, quote,
Dear viewer, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a heart in the comments so this video reaches more people.
In place in Portland, Oregon. This despite local on-the-ground reporting that National Guard deployment has actually been delayed amid legal challenges. Also today, federal troops are on the ground in Memphis, Tennessee. And Missouri's Republican governor has authorized the National Guard to assist ICE with deportations across the state. All of this comes, of course, just months after Donald Trump deployed troops to Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. And it comes just one day after Trump tried to justify domestic military action, telling Pentagon leaders to, quote, handle the, quote, enemy from within. Take a listen.
To San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard. It's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
The Washington Post editorial board responded to these startling developments, writing simply, quote, U.S. cities aren't meant to be military training grounds, and our soldiers didn't sign up to be police officers. That is where we begin tonight. New warnings that Donald Trump's rhetoric and actions about military troops in American cities is escalating at an alarming pace. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Michelle Goldberg, columnist for the New York Times, and Molly Jong-Fast, columnist for Vanity Fair. Both are MSNBC political analysts. Michelle, let's start with you. What is your reaction to the expansion of the military's presence throughout American cities? Is this normal?
I mean, no, it's not normal. I think that, we've been talking a lot about for years, we're on the verge of authoritarianism. We might lose our democracy. I think that we're pretty well here. When you have a president stand up before the entire military and basically say, I want you or you're going to use American cities as training grounds for your foreign wars, when he declares huge swaths of the populace his enemies, when he sends the military to intimidate and potentially crush them, when you have scenes like we had recently in the immigration court building here in New York. You've seen a woman, a mother, thrown to the ground. The agent who did that was briefly fired because there was someone, I guess, in the bureaucracy who thought that was unacceptable and thought wrongly.
Yes.
And so the message is even worse because it's actually saying, no, somebody will come to your aid. There was a journalist who was taken out on a stretcher the other day. So it's getting worse and worse and worse. And we're not capable, I think, as a society of...
There's so much I wanted to ask you about, and you gave that amazing speech this morning in Maryland, the government shut down. But yesterday also, Trump and Hegseth gave what I thought was a bizarre, politicized event. They did a bizarre and politicized event in front of 4, 3, 2, 1-star members of the U.S. military. You were a veteran yourself. And there are a couple of things that struck me. They talked about fighting a war from within. They talked about these silly rules of engagement. When you're in the military, and you know this better than I do, but I've worked with a member of they serve the commander in chief. They report to him. They do what he orders. And I just wonder if we're in just a different moment where there should be some questioning. Or how do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was really disheartening. I received a text from a person who I served with before, and he said to me, it's normal to disagree, with the commander-in-chief, he said, but I don't know if it's normal to be embarrassed by him. Mm-hmm. And he said, and I'm embarrassed. You know, and when we take the oath, we take the oath that we are going to follow the Constitution of the United States of America, and we will follow the lawful orders of the commander-in-chief. It's the same thing, and it's the same very humble responsibility that I take as the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard. That I know that the Maryland National Guard and the Maryland Air Guard, they move on the command of the commander-in-chief, that I'm giving them lawful orders. But I also think there's a confidence amongst the members of the Maryland National Guard and the Maryland Air Guard is that I would only ever give lawful orders. And that's the struggle that I think for a lot of members of the military, they're figuring right now. We will follow the commands of our commander-in-chief. That's the oath that we took. When they're lawful. And I think there's a lot of people who right now, when they heard the words from the commander-in-chief yesterday about talking about using American cities as training grounds, they're not receiving lawful orders. In fact, they're receiving orders that are in direct violation of the U.S. Constitution and of U.S. law. And so this is what is making this moment so tricky. It's not just the fact that, you know, hearing Pete Hegseth, ridicule people about merit is really rich when he is the most unqualified Secretary of Defense that this country's ever seen. But it's past that. It's that we are hearing from our commander-in-chief about instructions that he is giving to the members of our military that are not just nonsensical, they're unlawful. And that puts the members of our military in a really complicated situation.
What can they do?
They don't have to follow them. We have to follow lawful orders. We follow the instructions of our commander-in-chief. We follow the Constitution of the United States of America. But I cannot stress enough that word lawful matters. And in fact, we are told you do not have to follow unlawful orders. And so I think this becomes a really challenging moment for the members of our military when you usually have the ability to trust that the orders that you are getting are lawful. I think if we have seen anything from the precedent of this Trump administration, that is not always a guarantee nor a prerequisite for the decisions and the orders that they're given.
One of the things I enjoy talking to governors is that you just call things out because you've been in a position, as other governors had, to kind of oversee things and make decisions. I wanted to play something for you that Governor J.B. Pritzker said today. He talked a little bit about sending troops into cities, something that he's grappling with, as you have with the city of Chicago. Let's play that when we talk about it.
Into cities thinking that that's some sort of proving ground for war, or that indeed there's some sort of internal war going on in the United States is just, frankly, inane. And I'm concerned for his health. There is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked.
You agree with him?
I love JV. And listen, one thing that I do know is there's this chicken hawk behavior. There is this fascination and obsession with the United States military. And maybe it's because he's never served himself. Maybe because he's never worn the uniform. Trump. Sorry. Not JB, but Trump. Yeah. Maybe because he's never worn the uniform. But there is this fascination that he has about that the answer to everything is deploy the United States military like he's a child.
This government shutdown was a move straight out of Trump's authoritarian playbook. You see that, don't you? The man deliberately paralyzes the functioning of the state, then uses the crisis as an excuse to flex his muscles. And who is attacking blue states, opposition states? This is no coincidence. This is a policy of punishment. He is using the presidency like a weapon and threatening his own people with it. Remember, history has shown us every great authoritarian leader first declared his opponents enemies, then sent the army into the streets. Today, Trump's words about the enemy within point precisely to that dark path. This is not just a crisis, it is a step toward the collapse of our democracy. Federal troops are spreading from Portland to Memphis, from Missouri to Los Angeles. Trump sees his own citizens as a training ground. American cities, the American people are nothing but a rehearsal for war in his eyes. This is not something that can be explained by sanity. It's a strategic attack because if the military becomes normalized in cities, tomorrow protesting workers, teachers, journalists, yes, you will be targeted. Trump's concern is not security. His concern is to instill fear, to force obedience. This is clearly contrary to the constitutional order, contrary to the law, and contrary to the American spirit. If we allow this to become normalized, it won't be long before we see tanks on our own streets. Some of these orders given to the military are directly unconstitutional. But Trump doesn't care because he knows that fear is his most powerful weapon. Understand this well. If we remain silent, this trend will accelerate. If we wait, thinking maybe it's temporary, we will wake up one morning to find ourselves in a country where orders have replaced the law, where citizens have been declared enemies. This country belongs to the people, not the military. Thank you for watching.